could that be a major reason? Political interference, as the case may be. After a 4-year tenure, a new administration comes on board again. Could that be a major factor that we have to now change the operations of DFIs in the country? Do you think that's enough reason for us?
Well, don't let me say that's the only reason, but it's a contributing factor. Yeah, because government interference, we all know and we are aware of how government businesses are run. Let me give you an example. Federal Mortgage Bank is to advance facility for development of that sector, housing and real estate. But one thing you see is this, and let me give an instance. If you call the EDL desk of Federal Mortgage Bank, that is Estate Development Loan Desk, that is where single-digit facility is supposed to be advanced to estate developer to develop low-cost housing estates in Nigeria. They will tell you that there's an embargo on that product. And ask why. Because the previous loan advanced to developers had gone bad. And that they have gone bad does not stop the government from allocating resources to them annually.
Haven't there been efforts to recoup this loans?
Of course, there will be efforts.
Have there been results in that regard?
As I'm talking to you, I know that there is an embargo because they could not go ahead because of the pileup of bad loan that they have accumulated over a period of time. Yes, effort is going to get back this facility from whosoever.
What level of effort? Because we really need to know what's going on in that sector as aware. Because I know that in the banking sector, AMCON has been played a level of intervention. There were interventions from the federal government, from the central bank, with the setting up of AMCON to buy back bad debts. Were there any such plans in the DFI
Thank you so much.
Before now?
That is where the importance of the new regulatory framework being put up by central bank is very, very crucial. You know, up to this moment, DFIs in Nigeria were not being regulated by the central bank because they were specialized form of banking operators that were established for a specific purpose by government. So government is pumping fund, government is giving them fund to intervene in certain sector.
And the monitoring is not to the highest level?
So the monitoring, you cannot compare the supervisory role as being experienced by the Deposit Money Bank.
Because the government is also the central bank in this regard.
Yes, but you remember that there is a limit to what you can do under the law. If the law has not empowered you to do something, well, yes, it is owned by the government. It's a representative of it's the Apex Bank. But if there is no law that stipulates that Central Bank of Nigeria should do X, Y, Z in respect to DFIs, of course they will be incapacitated to do it. And I think that is why we should be happy for this development, that DFIs in Nigeria will now be under the supervision of Central Bank of Nigeria, and they will be able to monitor their operation, their activities, the kind of collateral whosoever is approaching DFIs must have. They determine their capital requirement, they determine their liquidity ratios, they determine their operational activities on daily basis to know whether they are still operating within the confines of the objectives and the regulations, so that there will not be failure. In fact, the truth is that because there have not been any serious monitoring, that is why most of the DFIs, there are about 6 in Nigeria, they are not performing very well. Yes, some of them are trying to still do whatever they can do under the little resources they have. However, this is largely dependent on the drivers, who are in charge
behind them
at a particular time.
Okay, if you look at the draft framework, the central bank says there will be 2 categories. They're actually trying to suggest, it's still a draft, guideline, 2 categories of development finance institutions. Can you tell us more about this? I'm sure there is the retail and the wholesale.
The wholesale. What I think the CBN is trying to look at is trying to get trying to set a target for the individual. For the wholesale, the capital requirement, which is 100 billion. Then while the retail, it's just 5 billion. The retail would be targeting mostly retail lending, the medium, the micro, small, medium scale enterprise.
Because if you look at the preamble, I'm sorry to cut in, if you look at the preamble of that draft, the central bank was saying that the DFIs were established to provide financial interventions in the identified sectors, targeting micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to complement the effort of the banks and also other financial institutions. And if you remember very clearly what the central bank governor was saying at this inaugural speech when he came into office, he was saying that he will concentrate on projects that will drive the economy. How do DFIs fit in to this whole roadmap, as a case may be?
Thanks for that. When I will take you back to the rebasing of the GDP, which has exposed like a major 6 sectors that contribute like 70% to the GDP. So for Nigeria to be able to have a sustainable growth, they need to target these 6 particular sectors, which is the trade, crop production, you have the information services, you have you also have the food, beverage, and tobacco. So when you need to concentrate on this particular sector, so like the wholesale, like you asked earlier, they may look at the medium, they may look at targeting the medium space, such that they look at long-term financing. The retail may look at short-term financing within maybe 1 year, 2 years, and it's based on the draft. They've said the wholesale DFI should not lend, should not be involved in retail lending, so that there will be no competition with the retail DFIs. You know, now that it's going to be deregulated, people can, like how the microfinance bank has been set up, private parastatals can come in and set up their retail DFIs, such that it's targeted toward lending to the micro and the small enterprise. So with this, the effects will be significantly felt, because it's based on, it will be well regulated. You are asked to render your account on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis. There are requirements that you have to fulfill even before the license are issued. When you look at also the kind of skills that are required, this has also been included in the draft. That a minimum for you to be the MD of any of the parastatals, you must have the minimum of 15 years, and you must have served like 10 years in managerial capacity. So when you look at that, it will also increase the knowledge base of either the wholesale DFI or the retail DFI, and their impact will be fiscally felt, which is in line with what the CBN governor is looking. He said Nigeria has been having, based on its speech that he made, has been having like positive growth rate in the past 7 years. However, unemployment rates has been increasing. Based on the National Bureau of Statistics, as of 2012, 23.9%. So they need to come up with how can they reduce unemployment? How can you improve the real sector such that unemployment rates can continue to decline, and you will also be able to boost, when you're able to boost productivity, there will be less of demand for the forex, and there will be less pressure for the, on the naira.